talk about the second way to manage sway now. See how the building has different heights? There's not one common rooftop. There's actually multiple rooftops. It's kind of atypical. Usually there's one big rooftop. This building has the multiple rooftops. Each of those rooftops, there's 9 of them, is a square column. A square column. Think of a stick in the ground. One stick in the ground falls over easy, right? But if you take 8 more sticks around that first stick, put them in the ground, collectively, they're a lot harder to push over. And each of those square columns functions like a stick in the ground that's reinforcing another stick. The square columns reinforce each other, helping to reduce sway. Yes? It's going to be very loud. The secret story? Yes, the secret story is true. Quick synopsis. The structural engineer, Fazler Khan, was playing with cigarettes on a table and saw that one cigarette would fall over easy. He'd reinforce the first cigarette with other cigarettes, and that's how he kind of used to also create the top outs. Yes, that is true. In 1981, an American named Dan Goodwin put on a Spider-Man outfit and put suction cups on his hands and climbed his way all the way to the top. For that feat, he got nicknamed the American Spider-Man. The French Spider-Man, Alain Robert, in 1999, climbed to the top of the building with his bare hands. He did so in 120 minutes. There are a few questions. Yes, go ahead. What was that? He doesn't have a question. Do you have a question? How did he do that? What?
Climbed up with bare hands.
How did he climb? Putting his hands. He put his hands in the frames of the windows. How he physically did that. You can see they kind of stick out. The Willis Tower is no longer the tallest building in the United States or the world. The tallest building in the United States is now One World Trade Center in Manhattan. The One World Trade Center comes in at the patriotic height of 1,776 feet tall. But the One World Trade Center has a spire, which technically counts toward the height. The spire is a structural piece that rises from the rooftop. The rooftop of the Willis building, the building here, is actually slightly higher than the rooftop of the spire. So by that important standard rooftop height, Willis building is still the tallest building in the United States. The tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. That building comes in at 2,717 feet tall. If you took the Willis building, put it on top of the John Hancock building, which we'll see later, it would still not be anywhere near the height of the Burj Khalifa. In the United States, the FAA has a hard building cap of a height cap of 2,000 feet high, so you can't even build legally anywhere close to the Burj Khalifa here in the United States. Those antennae all the way at the top, those white antennae you might have seen early on, you know, want to stretch your neck, those are about the height of Gateway 1 and Gateway 2. So the white antennae are the height of a building themselves. So now is a quick kind of talk about Chicago, kind of food life and culture. Chicago has a lot of nicknames. We started the tour talking about Chicago's most famous nickname, which is the Second City. You now know where that name comes from. Chicago got to build itself a second time due to the Great Chicago Fire. Had the Great Chicago Fire not happened, Chicago would look a lot like Boston, Philadelphia, or Brooklyn. Right on. You can go see what that might have looked like if you like any of those cities. Boston, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, to Old Town, where the fire stopped. The fire stops at Fullerton. So Old Town was spared by the fire. If you want to see pre-fire construction, it kind of looks cool. There's wavy little paths, there's random teas, little bars, shops, or restaurant kind of sprinkled around that area. So that's Old Town. Chicago has a lot of other nicknames. Beyond the Windy City, we have for Second City, we're called the Windy City. As you can see today, it's very windy here on the lake. But that's not where the name Windy City comes from. It actually comes from the period around the World's Fair of 1893. You see, in 1893, Chicago politicians were talking a big game to East Coast journalists. And those East Coast journalists got tired of hearing all that big talk. So they started writing that Chicago is full of hot air. And the politicians of Chicago are from that Windy City of Chicago, etc. The nickname is kind of stuck ever since the Windy City. Chicago is also called Shiberia because it gets very cold here in the winter with our wind chill. Chicago is also called Chi-Town for short. The name Chicago comes from the first non-native visitors to the area who were French explorers. With those French explorers were folks from the Potawatomi tribe who called this area Chicagoa, or land of stinking onion, after a strong-smelling native plant that resided in the area, which was mostly a swamp. Those French visitors or French explorers were pronounced the word Chicago with an SH sound, like champagne or Chicago, hence the name Chicago. The same is true of the state we're in, Illinois. The name Illinois comes from the Illini tribe, but the French explorers of the area put a noir at it. That's how we are in Chicago in Illinois. Chicago has a lot of food. If you want to get some food if you're from out of town, we're known for deep dish pizza. The deepest of the deep dishes are up at Pequod's, Lincoln Park. Medium weighs about 5 to 6 pounds. It stands about 3 to 4 inches high. It's got this distinct caramelized blackened crust. It's delicious. If you want a more mainstream pie, a starter pie, you can go to Lou Malnati's, which is a little more popular. They got more locations. There's a location at the dock I can point you to after the tour. Chicago has several other things we're known for food-wise. I don't know if you ever heard of Italian beef, but an Italian beef sandwich is a slow-cooked beef put into a bun. That bun is then dipped into juice. So eat that Italian beef over a table because it's going to drip. We also have a thing called the Chicago dog, which is a hot dog in a poppy seed bun with many toppings, but it's most well known for what it lacks: ketchup. Chicago dog has no ketchup. Don't even ask. They won't put it on. Same rules apply to a Polish, which is a grilled Polish sausage, on again a poppy seed bun, again with some other toppings, but it has no ketchup. So if you want to get those three things, and you can go where you want because you're an adult, you can go to Portillo's after the tour. It's about a 15-minute walk. I can direct you there if you want. They got those three elements: the Italian beef, the Chicago dog, and the Polish. Chicago is also known for its comedy. Chicago has the most well-known comedy venue, probably, perhaps in the United States. Second City is the name of the comedy venue. It's produced alumni for Saturday Night Live in New York City in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They do sketch comedy there. Write out a show and do the same show every night, just like a Saturday Night Live. If you want to see the opposite, you can go to many improv comedy places. They'll write out a show and have a new, or not write out a show and do a new show every single night. It's never been seen before, it shall never be seen again. It's called improv comedy, and my favorite place is in Logan Square, where I live, called Logan Improv Theater. It's very affordable. It's BYOB. It's only seats like 35, 40 people in the theater. It's a real fun time, so it's the best show I've ever seen, so you might want to consider going there. Chicago's got a lot of bridges. We're going under several of them today, or many of them today. There's 37 movable bridges here in Chicago, which is more than any town than Amsterdam, except for Amsterdam, which has 61. On the right-hand side, we've got this kind of red brick building. It's from 1910. It's the Great Lakes building. The most interesting thing about this building is this location. This is the site where the late, great Abraham Lincoln won the first Republican convention in 1860 to run for the presidency of the United States. If you've heard of the phrase team of rivals, this is where Honest Abe beat his 4 rivals. We later incorporated into his cabinet. We've got a Riverwalk portion on our right-hand side. A pretty grassy area. Riverwalk was on that Burnham plan of 1909, but this Riverwalk was not implemented and completed until 2016. Remember another element of that Burnham plan of 1909? That double-decker drive right there? It's Wacker Drive on that Burnham plan. See how that Wacker Drive kind of floats up in the air, suspended? That's Upper Wacker Drive. Below it is Lower Wacker Drive. There's even a third level later on along the right-hand side called Lower Wacker Drive. Don't drive on it with a GPS because it will drive the GPS crazy. In front of us, we have a merchandise mart. As I said, we talked about it earlier as an example of Art Deco. The largest building in the world by square feet was constructed in 1930. It was built to be Marshall Field's warehouse. This building is truly a horizontal skyscraper. There are 25 floors, 43 elevators, and 4.2 million square feet. This building, when built, was used by the Marshall Fields Company, but hit our times in the 30s and 40s. Like many companies did. It was bought by the Kennedy family in the 50s eventually. Kennedy family, yes, the famous Kennedy family, sold it in the 90s. Art on the Mark happens every night, happens tonight, tomorrow night, every night thereafter, 9 o'clock, 9:30. It's the largest permanent digital light display in the world. The city of Chicago projects a light display onto the 2.5-acre facade of this building for half an hour each night, 9 o'clock, 9:30. It's audio visual, it's really cool. The light actually comes out of these 34 lasers that are right there on the right-hand side. And the light misses all of the office windows, so office workers don't get distracted if they're working late. So that's Art on the Mark. That will happen tonight, 9:30, 9 o'clock. The Riverwalk is on the right-hand side. It's got that those kind of grassy area right there. The roots of those grasses extend deep into the river. That Riverwalk, or those fish hotels is what we call them, is a place where fish can live, spawn, raise their young. In the 70s, there were only 10 species of fish in this river. Flash forward to today, there's over 70 species of fish in this river. There are also otters occasionally, or badgers.